Hello from quiet, drizzly Portland, Oregon. It's September 29th. I want to give you a couple of updates on what's happening in the city today. I've had to run a lot of errands and take kids to appointments, so have been all over town. First, let me read this comment because I think that this perfectly encapsulates what's happening here. ICE is paying out up to $1 million a day to manage peaceful protests because they are overreacting to people exercising their right to free speech. This is all that is happening. Yep, that is precisely what is happening. Now, yesterday, our Attorney General, Dan Rayfield, filed a lawsuit to block the regime from sending federal troops into our city. And in that 41-page filing, there was some pretty interesting information about what exactly is happening here. You or your relatives may be getting a very skewed picture of what life is like in our city if you are listening to what Trump and Kristi Noem are saying, or if you are listening to the rhetoric of Fox News. Trump called it hell on earth here. He said it's a war zone and everything is on fire. He said that protesters were waging war on the ICE facilities in Portland. There's only one ICE building in Portland. It's quite small. It's on Macadam Avenue. And we know from the court filings by Attorney General Dan Rayfield that there have been at most 30 protesters at that ICE facility on a daily basis. Fewer than 3 dozen unarmed protesters have resulted in Donald Trump completely flipping the fuck out and wanting to spend millions and millions of tax dollars using our service members as political pawns and choosing to take a city full of American citizens and turn it into a military target. Is this making America great again? Does this make any sense? Now, if you don't believe me, or rather, if you don't believe the court filing that says the only thing going on here is a small protest of a couple of dozen kids who, I've been down to the protest site many times. I brought flowers, I brought food. It's a bunch of young folks who earnestly care about immigrants. And they've got, cardboard signs and bubbles and megaphones, and they're shouting because they're angry that ICE is terrorizing our neighbors. They're angry that Moises Sotelo was kidnapped from his home in Newberg, Oregon, where he had been working, living peacefully, was a business owner for more than 2 decades. ICE snatched him outside of his church and then proceeded to deport him. After what ICE claimed was a cannabis charge from many years ago. By the way, weed is legal now in Oregon. And also, none of the journalists who are investigating this story could find any charges against Moises for cannabis. Right? The young folks who are protesting down there are angry at injustice. They're angry at the cruelty, the illegality, and the inhumanity of this regime. And so they are exercising their protected First Amendment right to speak against what the government is doing. They are there, unarmed, using their voice, holding up signs, blowing bubbles, reciting poetry, playing music, chanting. Like, they're protesting. These are legal, protected forms of speech in the United States. 2 dozen kids. Right? It just speaks to the sheer fragility and brutality of the regime that they can't handle 2 dozen kids exercising their rights. So they have to bring in dozens and dozens of poorly trained men with no self-control in full body armor, and they have to pump essentially chemical weapons into that neighborhood. Tear gas, green gas, agents that are illegal for Portland police to use, but ICE can pump them into a residential neighborhood and all over an elementary school, which is located next door to the ICE facility. In fact, so much of it was pumped into that elementary school that that school had to relocate. We know from sworn testimony from Portland police that it is ICE that is instigating with protesters. I said in a video a long time ago that ICE has no intention of de-escalating. They don't have any de-escalation training. Their goal is to escalate, that they want to manufacture scenarios where they can trump up charges like resisting arrest or assaulting an officer. They are trying to start shit. Our city is peaceful. We are just like any other city. In fact, Portland has very low crime compared to many other major metropolitan areas. We are just a regular city full of regular Americans. I mean, we're kind of weird. We're a little bit weird here, but we are just trying to live our lives in peace. And ICE is coming in and bringing violence and terror. ICE is coming in and breaking the law. We were doing just fine before Donald Trump decided to try and manufacture a crisis here in order to take away our rights. Everything you are hearing from the regime is complete and total bullshit. Now, I made a video yesterday about how Portlanders, we've been sharing images on social media about what life is like here. And as I said at the beginning of this video, I've been traveling all around town today. I was on the west side, I was in the southeast, I was down by the ICE facility, down by Macadam in the Selwood Bridge. Y'all, it's a regular day in Portland, Oregon. It's drizzly and gray. I appreciated somebody in one of my local Facebook groups was like, one thing I love about Portland is that when the rain comes, ice melts. Yeah, we'll see how well these body armored troops sent in from God knows where do once the rain is fully back and it's gray and drizzly all day, every day. How long till they all get trench foot and want to go home? Like there's just nothing going on here. And I think it's important to understand this is what Trump is trying to do all across this country. Decent, regular American citizens are trying to live their lives, exercise their rights, go about their business, pay their taxes, work their jobs, raise their families. And the regime, including ICE, are coming in and fucking all of that up. They are creating chaos. They are manufacturing situations where people suffer, where people are harmed, where our cities are put into a state of chaos. But please understand, here in Portland right now, not only is there nothing going on around the city, even right around the ICE building, there have been dozens of protesters over the last couple of days, all legally exercising their First Amendment rights. Nothing about that requires the military coming in here. Nothing about that requires all of these unhinged, unskilled, unqualified, paid thugs in full body armor pumping tear gas and green gas into a residential neighborhood night after night after night, brutalizing unarmed protesters night after night after night. A couple of my mutuals on TikTok have gotten injured pretty badly down there, like blowing bubbles and waving cardboard signs, and they've been shot at by ICE. Hit by ICE with less lethals and with pepper balls, which they're supposed to aim at the ground, not at people's bodies. When I say these guys are untrained and unqualified and have no intention of de-escalating, they can't even regulate their own emotions, much less attempt to bring down the temperature when interacting with members of the public. Just like earlier today, we saw that an ICE agent apparently fired through the windshield of a CBS reporter's vehicle while she was driving. I think it was a tear gas round. It went off inside her car. She could have wrecked her car. She could have died. She could have been hit by that while driving. There's nothing going on. We now have ICE attacking journalists. These guys are wholly unqualified. They are there as instigators, as agents of chaos. They are meant to try and create situations that allow Donald Trump to come in and say that he's going to take away our rights for our own safety. But please understand, the protests at the ICE facility have been 30 people or less, unarmed. Portland is a very peaceful, safe city. There's nothing going on here that warrants anything that Trump is trying to do. It's also important to understand that like anything the regime does, everything comes back to the grift. Y'all, everything comes back to the grift. How much of our taxpayer money is being funneled into the corporations that are having their big fat government contracts with ICE? How much of our taxpayer dollars is being funneled into the bank accounts of Proud Boys and pardoned January 6ers and white supremacists who are now working for ICE? I want to come back in the next video and talk a little bit more about Portland, but I think this is something that we can remind everybody of. No matter what you think about protesters, I know so many conservatives right now are like, oh my God, kids are spray painting shit, so definitely they deserve to get beat on by the feds, and like that definitely warrants the military coming in. Okay, really, do you think that is worth spending millions of dollars a day? Because that's what's happening right now. They're spending millions and millions of our tax dollars every single day on this nonsense. Our governor, our mayor, our attorney general, our city council, our congresswoman, our senators have all said that federal troops are not required here. They are not wanted here. The Portland Police Bureau says that it's unnecessary. What happened to states' rights? What happened to our individual freedoms? What happened to our First Amendment rights? How is taking any of those rights away making America great again?